Blog Talk Radio.
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it? You are listening to Dark Matter Radio with your host, Ronnie. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be in this beautiful world of ours. We welcome the listeners from all around the world, from Canada to America, from Mexico, Central America, from Australia, South America, running our way all the way around from Japan. Actually, we got some listeners over there, into Asia Minor, India, Africa, many places all across the country of, all across Europe, that is, including in Britain. And today, Britain really needs to pay attention to this one as well as the Canadians. Part of my neck of the woods, actually, I so fondly call that home right now as well. It's a very interesting show we're going to have tonight. We're going to be talking about what's getting ready to happen, what's been happening throughout this whole entire year, which these eclipse, the Ring of Fire eclipse, which represents change, and the carbon-12 to carbon-7 transformation. Now, a lot more people are starting to talk about this. A lot more people are starting to understand that there are some strange things that are going on in our skies, that there are some strange things that are going on inside of the body politic of this whole entire planet. And one of the things that we understand is that when we look at these eclipses, it represents change, right? And a lot of it has to deal with, not all of it, now is really having to deal with the carbon-12, carbon-7 transformation and this ring of fire that is upon us all. Like, all eclipses change the transformation, right? It represents transformation. And 2020 has seen its fair of transformation already, right? And 2020 has 6 eclipses. We're going to go over those 6 eclipses as well today. And that roughly occurs every 4.5 years or so. Solar eclipses represents the male aspect. Well, the lunar eclipse represents the feminine aspect. And a lot of people who are into your metaphysics or into the astrology also know that all things come from the feminine. And again, we get this from the creation stories. If you don't know what the real creation stories are, you're kind of lost in the sauce. Also, we have to be extremely cautious now because the energy that is around us has also changed. So anyone who's in astrology, you need to understand exactly what we're dealing with in terms of planetary experiences and spatial experiences. If you are kind of off in these spatial experiences, a lot of the readings and stuff that you have are directed by a force that is not of the eternal light, as I must say. Anyone who's dealing with, doing readings, tarot cards, dealing in all of this spiritual type energy must now be also very cautious, because what is telling us is that we're going into a period where we are going to have to understand that the energy around us has changed. We're going back into the soulful energy aspect of things, and we are leaving behind the spiritual energy aspect of things, which has been forced upon us by low-dimensional entities and taking up power within entities that are soulless and only have spirits that reign. So a lot of people, what they've done during all of these spiritual aspects of things, which really began to start developing a long time ago. A lot of it really started coming out in the 1800s. But the spiritual energy is energy that is actually attached to extremely low dimensional energy. And why do I say that? Because when you begin to start understanding what the spiritual is and where it's coming from and how it gets its energy, you begin to start understanding that it's that soulful energy. And when you understand what soulful energy is, that is the energy that actually can be programmed through the carbon-12, carbon-7 transformation on a plane as to where it begins to start rising the soulful consciousness within the light being. And that soulful consciousness within inside of that light being is within inside of your body. Remember, your light being has a body. Your body doesn't have a light being. Your light being is a soul, which is a Greek transformation of the word sun, which means that you have a little sun, exploding sun, continuously on fire within inside of you. So that is extremely important, because this is where you actually get all of your power and all your energy from. Is from the soul, which is an eternal burning light. And this eternal burning light is attached to the ever-present light of all creation. Some call it God, some call it the eternal universe. It is a light upon which you are part of. So what happened is during the chaos period, there was, and I'm not going to get in too deep into this, but during the chaos period, there was transformations that were taking place, things that were building, and out of these souls, out of these suns that were exploding, they were exploding life forms called souls, right? Energy beings, and these energy beings are the beings that were presented and put inside of these bodies, so to speak, in order for them to be able to learn, have experiences, and to be able to grow. You're like a monarch butterfly. Right now, many of us are in a cocoon, and what we're trying to do is actually gain enough energy, enough life experiences, enough experiences in this so-called physical realm, which is holographic in nature, in order for us to be able to blossom within inside of ourselves and to shed off the shell that we have, which is called the body, and turn into that monarch butterfly, turn into that light being that you're supposed to be. And this is only like maybe one of the first stages of this, because then at this stage, you go on and you begin to start combining yourself again with the eternal light to be able to gain other experiences so that you can grow even further and become even more powerful inside of this created universal structure that we're in right now. So there's a lot more that goes in to a lot of these things when you're talking about these eclipses. And this Ring of Fire event is just one of the events that's going to really bring you forth. We're going to be talking about this really, really, really intently, because you really need to know that, especially if you're into astrology, especially if you're into numerology, especially if you're into, talking to the realm of the unseen. Most people call it the realm of dead, or to other spirits. You need to know exactly what you're communicating with and what the Bible was actually, and many other religious texts is talking about in terms of, be willful or careful about communicating with those of the unseen world, because you need to know exactly what you're dealing with. And because so many things that have been distorted in our realm of consciousness, a lot of people have absolutely no idea, unless they are actually attached to the Akashic records, have an understanding as to what they're actually really dealing with. And this is one of the reasons why we deal with the indigenous, the Aboriginal indigenous American Indians, the Yamaru, the people of the North American or the Atlantean lands, and everything that goes on with there, because this gives you an indication of how deep this rabbit hole goes in terms of them changing the conditioning of all of the information that we are privy to. Most people don't even realize that the Aboriginal indigenous Indian is what you call the so-called Black African American, which in that aspect does not exist. they are Aboriginal, indigenous American Indians, as they were classified when we first came here, from the land of Amupana. That is of the land, right? Because there was a lot of places that were called Amaru, right? Amaru was a capital of a lot of the lands that they were landing on. And the internal meaning of Indian, when you really break it down, means that it is a being with God within, a being that has God within. And that is all beings that have souls. So if you have a soul, a light being within inside of you, you have a God within, which means that you are a part of the universal creation being that has created this construct in order for you to be able to grow. Now, within this construct, what happened is that there was a hijacking that went on, and they call it, the hijack, right? So when you listen to Kirameo or the Kendrop, you listen to these guys, and they call, you start hearing them saying, well, there's the hijack. This is where the hijack came in at. And these Aboriginal beings, these indigenous beings, these Nagas, when they talk about this hijack, they're talking about how the information was actually changed, and they're looking for the root in which the information has changed. So where exactly it changed, and what did it change from? So when you're doing a lot of these astrological readings and stuff like that, you really need, at this point in time in the world, if you have a soul, because now if you have a soul, a light being within you, these ring of fire eclipses and all of these eclipses mean so much more because of the information that is being gathered by the carbon-12, carbon-7 change. And that programming goes deep within inside of your soul that you are able to reach into so much higher heights on a higher level than any other being on this earth. So when you begin to start talking about how things were created, I'll just give you a brief synopsis, because we're going to have a whole entire show on this in terms of how things were created. So when you start talking about how things were created on this earth, there are 4 different types of beings, classifications of beings on this earth. And the 4 different types of classified beings on this earth are, just trying to put some information here because I really didn't put my notes. This is one of the things that happens when you're not working inside your own office. You just start losing a few things when you're out on the road too much. Not losing them, but you start to not have it. Hold on for a second here, people. So I want to get into it just a little bit because it's important for us to understand the different classifications of beings that are on this earth. And they found this in the temples of Kem, right? Kem. Many people Egypt, but Egypt is a Hellenization or a Greekanization of the word Kemet, right? So they changed the words. There's the hijack. They changed the word from Kemet, Kem, to Egypt. So we have the root, the Nazi, the Hamu, and the Tamaru, which are the 4 distinct beings that are written on the temple walls of the temple Seti 1. And Abydos and Kem, right? So you need to understand that there's root, the Nazi, the Hamaru, and the Tamaru, right? So when you begin to start looking at this, the root and the Nazi are East African, what you call now East African, what you call now West African, the people of the Africas, right? The people of the land of Kem, the land of Ethiopia, right? The land of the people with dark faces, burnt skin, whatever you want to call it. The Hamu, the Hamu are what you would call the people of North America. These are the copper-colored races that they found here in the Americas, right? In the land of Amaru, right? Amaru Pana, which is what the Americas was originally called, name was given, and also was called the Third Ethiopia, right? So when you begin to start understanding 3, you have one of those groups that actually have the original light being soulful people in there. We won't get into that right now. We have two of the other ones that were also created beings from a event that happened when certain race beings first came to the earth and then began to start creating things. So from them, two other races were created, but they also were created with a light within inside of them that was not supposed to be. Those two races got together and created the Tamahu, right? Tamahu, won't get into where they are from yet because that's going to be into that next series that we're going to be doing. But the Tamahu are a completely created race of people, and those are the last creations that are on the face of the earth. These Tamahu people are people that are spirit creations. So when they were created, they were not created with souls, they were created with spirit energy, right? These type of beings are the ones that have, basically, hardly any remorse was inside of them, no caring for the land, no caring for the earth, and they are extremely violent in nature. So when you talk about the Tamahu, right, the Tamahu, these are the beings that are able to be captured by low-dimensional beings. And even if you do have a soul, or if you have a soul that was implanted into these beings, because the root and the Nazi, these beings, and we'll get into that, but these beings, they had souls implanted into them. And it's an extremely interesting story when you begin to start getting into it. But when they had the souls, these are actual souls that were implanted into bodies and captured, right? And then the Hamaru are the original beings that have original souls that are being inputted into them from the creation of the universe itself, the creation of the actual light being as to where they're actually from. And this is where you get into your quote-unquote racism. It has nothing to do with color. It has everything to do with what's being inside of you. And those that can actually can see the differences between the different energy patterns, vibrational patterns that are within people. So that's important for us to really understand. So when you are collecting these types of energies and you're trying to give different types of readings, you have to understand that there's only a certain type of people that can give actual readings that are coming from an actual source that is of soul, which is of the eternal light, the light being that is from within, right? A lot of these people who have spiritual energy and just spiritual energy, some of them have avatars, are not able to connect to this higher form of dimensional energy. They can only go but so far. That is in this reality, in terms of this side, what you call life, and in the transitional reality, which some people call quote-unquote death. But there is no death because all energy is eternal. And this is the reason why everything that is on this so-called plane has a chance of what you call salvation before a actual reorganization of that energy takes place. So when that reorganization of energy takes place, you probably just don't exist anymore in the form that you are right now, but it will be recycled in some form or way, right? So we'll get into a lot of those things when we start talking about that. But this is the reason why you have to pay attention to a lot of these different types of things that are going on around you right now. So this is why I say to people, take a deep breath. Really, it's time to take a deep breath and breathe. Breathe into this moment. Breathe into this time. Breathe into this winds of change that have graced your life. Breathe. Take time to breathe. They've been harsh, but they have also been helping you to open, to deepen you and enrich your life. This is what this is all about. And when you come to these markers, these points, this carbon-12, carbon-7 transformation, the energy of programming that is coming from the universe that is changing everything that is carbon-based on this planet, is enriching your life, right? Some people feel there's certain things, certain aspects that are crashing around them, and that's because the energy, the information is changing to a higher form of information. So on June 21st, June 20th, 21st, a new moon solar eclipse in Cancer is the most powerful of the year, this year. This is because it falls just moments after the solstice at 0 degrees of Cancer. Now, many of you may not understand what that means, but a lot of people who do in astrology and numerology understand it perfectly. 0 degrees of any zodiac sign is powerful, as it represents the field of infinite possibilities. But 0 degrees of Cancer also happens to be the global axis, a highly charged point in the cosmic guise, which is very, very, very important. Having a new moon solar eclipse on a global axis indicates an opening of a new timeline. So this is very important. Listen to exactly what I'm saying here. A new timeline is being forged. So there have been certain things that have been done in our past history that has to be changed, and there's a correction that is coming into being. So which is when the Bible calls a new world is being presented and a new dimension of being. So that new dimension of being is that dimension of being that I was talking about in terms of that light being reprogrammed and rising up to what it's supposed to be. So, like, you know, you talk about Black Lives Matter, you talk about White Lives Matter. Anybody who's out there right now who is of Aboriginal, indigenous, American Indian descent, who is of the Naga beings, who is of the Amaru, out there doing all these things, protesting, setting things on fire, they are not, or they are following a program that is not conducive to who and what they are truly as beings of light within inside of them. They are not acting within the matter upon which the universe has created them. They are much, much more powerful. So it represents a point in our history, but also in our hearts, where a new world has dawned. And this is what we really need to really understand, that a new world is dawning all around you. Right? A new world is dawning all around you, and it is powerful. This is powerful energy that doesn't just come up, or it just doesn't come and go on the day of the eclipse. We feel it building before, and we feel it building for a long time after. Now, when I say for a long time after, the energy that you're feeling, so it's like you get a surge of electricity. And then the dampness within inside of your being, or within inside of the things that are around you, absorb this energy. When it absorbs this energy, the energy doesn't go away. It's at the same intensity. It's just now you're able to absorb it, deal with it, and flow through the energy as it being normal. Many people are not able to handle what is going on. This is one of the reasons why, at this point in time of our history, we're having more suicides. And I'm not talking about suicides from people hanging from doorknobs. I mean, that's a totally different type of situation. I'm talking about suicides. We have more suicides now, today, than ever before, because people are not able to handle this type of energy. We have more people now today on all different types of medication to try to handle the different types of feelings that they're having within them, the nervousness, the anxiety, the depression, the euphoria even at times, right? Because sometimes you get like a light bulb that gets too much energy, and what happens to it? It explodes. So this is what's going on, right? This carbon-12, carbon-7 transformation, signifying all of these different types of eclipses, are real, and it's heavy. And this is the reason why you're seeing so many different changes going on around your life. People coming, people going, people staying. Your eyes are opening up to a lot of things around you to let you know who's supposed to be there and who is not supposed to be there, because anything that is of low dimensional, anything that's artificial, will not be able to present itself as being real in this dimensional energy. So, in fact, the steps and the choices we make around this eclipse have the potential to last for many years to come. For the downloads I have received around the solar eclipse, I have seen that a new book, a new record is being written. And this, there's nothing new under the sun. So a lot of people will say that this is new, but it is not. This is what has been. And any of those that have studied the writings of Kemet, studied the writings of the Atlanteans, studied the writings of the Lemurians, studied the writings of our old ancient beings, understand that they knew that a lot of these things were to come. And this is why that old saying was hidden deep into the Bible, that there is nothing new under the sun. So these downloads that you're receiving is reprogramming you to a knowledge that has always been, always will be, and always has been there within inside of you. It is to help guide you through the transformation of this life into the transformation to the shedding of this body, so that you will have an understanding of what to do and what comes next in the transformation after the body has been shed, right? Because there is no such thing for people who have eternal souls as death. People who have a light being within inside of them as death. It's only transformation. And the transformation that you make is a glorious, beautiful, bright transformation. This is the reason why the shutdown was so dangerous for so many different reasons, because people began to start understanding that this economy means nothing. Money means nothing. What means something is family. What means something is what's going on inside you, your feelings, the love in your heart, the beauty that you see in the trees, the recognition of nature that is all around you, the plants, birds, the seeds, all of these things are what this transformation has begun to start showing people. And that's why the shutdown forced this whole entire world to really come into a significance of what's really important. It's giving you another chance to be able to attach yourself to the all-important, all-eternal light that is out there. And it's a collective, right? It's almost like the planet Earth has a collective and has finished one journey and is ready to start a new one. So it's not really finishing any journey. What it's doing, it's coming back to its normal self. So the Schumann resonance frequency, 7.8, I believe it is, megahertz, is vibrating vigorously again throughout the whole entire Earth. It's shaking things to the point as to where it's taking it back to its own frequency. This is the reason why they say that every planet, every sun has its own light. And the ancients, they looked at all these planets as being separate gods. And the reason why they looked at it, it's a metaphor. The reason why they looked at it that way, because it's a metaphor saying that every planet has its own life or vibrant frequency that resonates within that planet, and everything within that planet, everything on that soil resonates to the frequency of that planet, right? So we resonate to, I believe, the 7.8 megahertz. This is what we resonate to. Experiments have shown that when you take away this Schumann, what they call Schumann resonance frequency, the Earth frequency, people aren't able to think, they can't sleep, they become nervous, they become schizophrenic, all kinds of things. And when it's placed back into them, they become back to more of a normalcy type situation. So it's important for you to understand that things aren't turning into new, things are turning back to the old, things are turning back to the original. What the original means is that anything that is artificial will not be able to survive. Anything. So this is the reason why your diet is important. The diet is important because what they're doing, they're using food to reprogram your biological unit to be artificial. So when you're taking all these GMOs, you're eating all these saccharins and artificial sugars and artificial flavors and these natural flavors, which aren't actually natural. Look that up. What is a natural flavor? You'll be shocked and surprised. They're using that to reprogram your being so that way you too could become artificial like them, and then in this artificial construct, you are not able to make the transformation the way that you're able to make it once the transformation begins to start going through. So, it feels like a big shift is coming. And it is. It already has. As we wrap up this old world, or the world that is turning back into this old world, right? This low vibrational frequency, which is now rising to that higher frequency, and head into this one where the higher vibrations will be able to take over. And this is what it's preparing you for. This is what it's preparing you for. So when you look at the vibrant fire eclipse, the circular eclipse, what's happening in the next couple of days, understanding that what it's doing right now is signifying that you are going through a ring of serious energy, and anything that's going through this ring is it's raising its consciousness, to a point where anything that's low dimensional will not be able to compete with you. All right. So we are creation beings. And what that means by creation beings is that there are only a few people on the earth that actually are creation beings, which means that anything that you perceive can be created. This is why it's so important for when you watch all these movies out there, you watch all these scary movies dealing with demons and all this other type stuff. What is happening is that they're getting new people, the new beings, the beings that have light inside of them. You're getting them to create low-dimensional figures, things that operate off of fear, right? So on this journey, many of it's new for you as it unfolding. The more people begin to awaken and tap into the abilities that they never knew that they had, this creation ability, right? The discoveries of these abilities will help shift and change how we approach things in the society and on this planet as a whole. So right now they got you thinking about Black Lives Matter. Right now they got you thinking about, all this killing and all this other type stuff. Notice it's all multidimensional. If you think of the way of I.N.N.A, the indigenous nations of North America, if you have an indigenous nations of North America way of thinking, you're thinking about life, you're thinking about creating the system that you came out of, you're thinking about creating all types of things that are happening within inside of you, right? So that's what you're doing. You're creating, right? You're not creating anything that's low-dimensional, scary, or things that are going to be fearful. You're creating love, you're creating happiness, you're creating an environment of healing, you're creating an environment of rising, you're creating a whole bunch of things that is just so good and so well feeling that your children will also begin to start feeling differently, right? So this is the reason why when you talk about the indigenous nations of North America and all of the nations that are coming together, creating these co-creation communities as Aboriginal, indigenous American Indians, the Nagas, the Yamaru beings of what we now call the Americas. You're talking about societies or creation beings that are creating an environment that is going to be something conducive to their rising within the energy that is falling upon us right now. So, while we feel that this is an individual level, and it is individual, but you have to remember that there's a greater sense that this is more about a collective, and that the journey of a planet as a whole. So what does that mean? It means that individually we have a responsibility to grow our fire that is inside of us, and to internally burn in the brightness of glory of happiness, love, and caring, and creating all those things that are going to bring us to the next level. But we can't do it unless we do it all as a collective. That is extremely. So when we look at this ring of fire annular solar eclipse, it's a special kind of partial solar eclipse. It occurs when the new moon is the furthest away from the Earth on its elliptical orbit. Basically, the opposite of the supermoon. So it doesn't cover the sun disk completely, giving it the appearance of a ring of fire. The solar eclipse glasses must be worn, as they say, to avoid the threat of blindness. So it can be dangerous for some people if you're not properly prepared. And also meaning that, if you're not sure that you're vibrationally high enough to be able to look at some of these things, be cautious, right? So the annual solar eclipse on this one, which is June 21st, 2020, will take place on a narrow path of the annually across Africa and Asia. A ring of fire will be visible at the sunrise in the Republic of Congo, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, then as a higher in the sky spectacle of South Sudan, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Yemen, Oman, Pakistan, India, Tibet, China, and Taiwan. Observers will see a ring around the sun for a maximum of about 1 minute, 1 minute, 60 seconds, That may not sound like much, but this actually is why it's so exciting, right? So it is important for us to understand that the reason why these eclipses are happening the way that they are is that they are rising the consciousness that we have entered into this dimension or this area of our spatial space of energy that is rising the planet for everything. So, just to get into it, the eclipse represents change, right? So all of these eclipses represent change, and all eclipses represent change in the transformation from carbon 12 to carbon 7. And the 2020 has 6 eclipses that occur roughly every 4.5 years. The solar eclipse represents male aspects, which eclipse represents the female aspect. And remember that we're always understanding that everything emanates from the female energy. And again, you have to understand the true natures of the creation story to understand that everything operates on the female energy, right? So the eclipse forces us to confront our own shadow nature, right? Or the dark side of our personal consciousness. So what we're talking about is that there's been so much that has been done over the past centuries that have turned everything around to its opposite. All these murders, all these killings. I mean, we're not just talking about the people that are being hung today, because there's still people here in America that are being hanged by trees, right? They're not talking about it much, but there are. There's still people that are being, shot and killed, even with all these things that are coming up that we talked about, Black Lives Matter and this, that, and the other thing. What do? They still kill people. And then they change Aunt Jemima off the cereal box, or off the pancake box, or off the, syrup thing, and, change a couple of laws, and there you go. You got all kinds of things that's going on. This is extremely low dimensional entity, energy. Extremely low dimensional energy. So when you say it forces us to confront our own shadowy nature and the dark side of our own personal subconscious, it's telling you that you have to allow the light being within you take control of the programming of your conscious and subconscious mind in order for your spiritual energy to be programmed the way the light energy wants it to be able to function. This is the reason why you have this burning soul within inside of you, this burning energy within inside of you, right? So you're a light being with a soul, and that soul is that energy that emulates everything that is around you. This is your being, this is what you are, right? So the spirit is a low dimensional type energy that does not have the same type of properties as a soul. So anything that is of a spirit, that's what it's used to energize. Things that have a soul, that's what it used to be able to energize their light being and anything else that is around them, and to manipulate the energy that's around them as well. You're beginning to start understanding how special you are as a light being with a soul. This is the reason why they tried to get off of soul energy and get everybody into music, including religion, into spiritual energy, because they don't want you using your power. So yes, it forces us to confront our own shadowy nature, or the dark side of our subconscious. It also is a sign from the universe that changes will soon visit us on Earth, on this Earth plane, and it can be unpredictable, and expect change, right? So this change is happening within inside, right? So a lot of people who have not taken care of their bodies, a lot of people who have not taken care of their souls, a lot of people who have not been able to take care of their pineal gland, because that pineal gland is the object upon which you're able to connect all of your different bodies together, right? So behind that pineal gland is this thing that looks like a universe. It's crazy. It looks like a universe. And this universe, they don't know what it is, but it is what some of the people in the metaphysics, some of the people in the metaphysical world explain that this is where the true consciousness, the true soul actually resides, right? This is the link between this physical and the soulful aspect, nature of who and what you truly are. So change doesn't occur always at the exact date of the eclipse. Sometimes it takes weeks and months or even before or after the eclipse. And I say sometimes what happens is that the change happens. You may not recognize it for a while, or you may begin to start understanding or recognizing that your body's becoming weaker, and there's certain aspects of you that is actually falling down because you're not allowing your soulful energy to come forward. Changes doesn't always occur, right? So the change does occur instantaneously. It might take a little while for you to be able to catch up to that change, and depending upon the type of energy that you're introducing into your life continuously will depend upon how much that change and that transformation or transformative energy takes place within inside of your life, which is usually a big or life-changing event. So expect when you begin to start allowing your soul, allowing your light being to take control, it is going to only want the best for you, which means it's only going to want the best things around you. So a lot of the things that are around you are going to start looking at as not being good for you, and they're going to start dissipating you, going to the wayside. There might be people, systems, jobs, events that you might want to participate in, churches, religions, all different types of things, right? So you have to expect this. So that's why the solar eclipse, carbon 12, carbon 7 changes, equals action. The action is all the things that are around you that are occurring, and the lunar eclipse equal experiences. And these experiences will begin to start resonating in your mind to create these high vibrational changes that are around you. So the power of the solar eclipse normally gets longer than the lunar eclipse, but that doesn't mean that the lunar eclipse are less potent. In fact, they may be more potent in the short term, right? So there's different types of energy that's being absorbed, right, for different types of reasons, and your soul will begin to start energizing towards that, and your light being will begin to start being programmed from that as well. An eclipse can be connected to the original source of the events, but sometimes it takes the power of another planet passing over the same spot for the effect to be truly released or comprehended. Now, why is that? Because and I explained that a little bit earlier. When you begin to start looking at the old concepts of people when they began to start talking about these planets, they talked about these planets of gods, right, as being gods. Understand that all of these planets have their own music. They have their own vibration. And when two vibrations connect, right, it creates a certain type of resonant frequency that begins to start producing a certain type of change. So all of these planets, all of these resonant frequencies, they work together in some sort of action to be able to produce the type of healing that needs to be done, right? So that's why, it's important. We had I want to get into the different types of lunar eclipse that we're talking about, and those solar and lunar eclipse of 2020, I believe there's 6 of them, I said, right? The Wolf Moon lunar eclipse, which happened on January 10th, 2020, 11:17 ADS time, right? It was 19th Cancer, 19th degree of the 54th, right, of Cancer, right? This is one dealing with mainly water, and this one, what they say is emotionally, this is a tough time, especially for those in the United States who can see a full wolf moon, as the moon is opposite Mercury, Saturn, Pluto, and Ceres. This is a lot of conflict around communications, legalities, government structure, and famine. As an asteroid Ceres represents the Mother Earth, we can expect greater conflict around the environment, and perhaps she strikes back with earthquakes or natural disasters. Ceres also represents nutrients and the motherhood, so issues may also fiercely arise here. So that was in January, and as you notice, what has happened is all this coronavirus and all this other type stuff. And if you listen to the things that I put out there, I do believe that between the carbon-12, carbon-7, between the natural energy of the 5G, between what they're putting up there as 5G, and what they did with this coronavirus thing, which is a invention, as it says by their own patent, it changed, and it changed into a species-killing disease, and that was done. That was done primarily because the aspects of this virus was changed by all these different energies that's vibrating around the earth. Now, this one, the full wolf moon, was only seen in North America only. Now, the second one, we had a full strawberry or honeymoon lunar eclipse, which was on June 5th, 2020. This one represents fire, tendency for arguments, as a moon is opposite Venus retrograde, which doesn't angle well for relationships, right? Especially with your mother or other women. The moon is also squaring Mars, so conflict and rash actions may be on the cards. Try to stay calm and take a deep breath. This one was only visible only from Western Pacific Ocean and parts of Australia, Asia, Antarctica. Antarctica's a whole nother ballgame we got to get into. Europe, Africa, and South America. So, this is important because it all goes into this one also, which is partial lunar eclipse. This is the one that is coming on June 21st, 2020. The water. Now, this is of 00, Cancer, 21 degrees, right? So this one is of water. The moon rules Cancer, so this is likely to be very emotional time. Self-expressions and feelings is likely to be important. Inner conflict or inner reflection and confirmation may be the order of the day, and soulfulity, right? So your soul, right? Getting to the inner aspect of your soul, of who you are as a soulful being, may become more important. Feelings of nostalgia and unexpected feelings from the past may come back to release hidden feelings, right? Something significant, but unexpected could happen. So we're looking at this point as a transition point. This is the first day of summer, and darkness is going to fall on a lot of different parts of the earth, which is the annular solar eclipse. And this is going to be visible from parts of Africa, Europe, the Middle East, Asia, Indonesia, Micronesia, and the very top of northern Australia, right? So we also have another one coming, which is called the full buck or the thunder moon lunar eclipse. I like that one, thunder. This one is happening on July 5th, 2020, right? 13 degrees, Capricorn 30th. And this one is about the earth, right? Changes of the structure or organizations are likely. There is significant change in the air, and it's best to go with the flow. Rather than try to maintain the status quo, it could be uncomfortable initially. But as time goes by, the changes will start to bed in, and feelings of security emerge again. You got this. And what does this mean? It means that, okay, we have two situations that are happening now on this planet. And you have to understand that the Aboriginal, indigenous American Indian, the Amaru, the Nazi people, Nagas, not the Nazi, but I would say the Nagas, beings of the Amaru, of what you now call North America, have a very, very important decision to make. Either they're going to go into what they're supposed to go into soulfully, which is what they're being programmed for. This is why they're rising. This is why they're emerging. They're saying that things aren't right in the system that they're in, and go back into the system from which they came. So this is a window, a door, and opening. If they don't do that, there's going to be very uncomfortable things that are going to be happening if they choose to stay in the position that they're in. This is very, very, very significant. Also, for the other people on the earth that are part and embedded in the system, you're going to be seeing a change going into the system, which is going to be bringing you in more closer to a systematic way of this whole entire earth being governed, which will promulgate certain, I would call, false wars to be able to further change your mindset to agree in the type of changes that are happening. So this solar eclipse will be visible from Australia, New Zealand, North America, Northern USA, Canada, Eastern Africa, Europe, UK, and Asia. So we have another one, and now these last two are going to be getting into some very significant things, because this gets into what's going to be happening for the remainder of the 2020s going forward. They call this the full beaver moon lunar eclipse, 30th November 2020, right? At 9:44 time, 08 degrees, Gemini 45. This one is an air sign. So changes in thinking are likely, right? So we're going to have a lot of changing. This programming is going to be taking rapidly. There's going to be a lot of changing in the way that people are thinking. You see that happening now. They know that something needs to change. They're not exactly sure how, but it's the choices that we make. Initially, it could feel confusing, chaotic, as new thoughts race through your brain. Old concepts need to go, but trying to sort the facts from fiction could take a little bit of time. This is where you get the deep state stuff. This is where you get people hiding information or canceling out information on YouTube. They're going to make things a lot more difficult for you to get the true understanding of your soulful being and what things are really about. So you're going to have to rely deep down in your mind, in your Akasha records. There are some real golden nuggets, so write down everything, because some of these ideas could play handsomely into the dividends upon your future. This one in November is going to be visible from Eastern Europe, Asia, Australia, New Zealand, the Americas. So the Americas is extremely important when you begin to start talking about that. You're talking about North, South, Central America, including Antarctica, right? Pacific, Antarctic, and Antarctica. So this whole entire side of the planet right now is being prepared for a major change if you're going to accept that to come. Whether you accept it to come or not, it's coming, right? So the last eclipse for this year is going to be the full, cold, or long night's new moon solar eclipse. That's going to happen on the 14th of December, 2020. And that's 23 degrees Sagittarius, 06, right? And this is a fire again. The transformation is bound to happen with regards to the freedom, expansion, and broadening of your horizons generally. You may consider travel or big plans in some way. Life will change for the better as you become wiser. Personal, direct experience, physical changes pave the way for deep inner healing and release. This eclipse is visible only from the Southern Pacific Ocean, the Galapagos Islands, and parts of South America, Antarctica, and South Africa. So what does this mean? That means that regardless of what changes the masses take, you as an individual will begin to start understanding what you have inside of you, right? What you have inside of you. I mean, you don't worry about a lot of the things that are taking place in terms of, what earthquakes might be happening. You don't worry about a lot of the things that are taking place in terms of the political structure. Concentrate on your being, your inner being, your light being. For there is the co-creation community within inside of you. And you'll be able to transform. Even if the world doesn't want to transform, you can still transform and become what you're meant to be. So, be wary of a lot of things that are going on out there. Understand that there are a lot more that's happening than what we really know that meets the eye. And understand that, there's a lot of great things that are happening right now, which is really, really, really wonderful. I mean, it is really wonderful. And I really, really, really am enjoying the time that we're living. And it has brought many great changes into my life. I made some prayers, and, unfortunately, there was a lot of things that came into my life that I thought that were good, that had to leave, that were forced out. And that's just the way things are. And things happen that way because when you begin to start getting into your real deep, soulful self, you begin to start rising that light being within inside of you, gravitating towards the vibrational changes that are happening all around you. and allowing this carbon-12, carbon-7 transformation, energy transference to rise your being, programming, going through that pineal gland into that little sun that is inside of you, rising you up to a point as to where you're able to be who and what you're naturally meant to be. And it is one of the most growthful things that I've had. I mean, you know, it will produce a lot of tears inside of you, because you're going to be cleansing a lot of this deep programming that is inside of you out of you completely. And that's what it's all about. So as an Aboriginal, indigenous, American Indian, a being on this planet, no matter where you are, where you're from, remember that the cosmos and that this universe, this construct that we're in, is giving us all a chance, once again, to be able to raise our consciousness so that we can be able to transform into what we're supposed to be. That beautiful fire monarch butterfly rising into the consciousness of the skies of this universe, meant for us to govern. Great Grand Rising to us all. I hope you enjoyed the program. A lot of the programming that we have on YouTube is being censored and taken off, unfortunately. So a lot more that we're going to be putting on. We'll probably be going back to our Patreon programming. So a lot of the real good programming that we're going to be putting on that gets deep into it, so it doesn't have to be censored, will be in that program. So, you know, go to Dark Matter Radio, Patreon, join up just for $1, whatever the situation is, just so that the information can be protected. You can download anything that you want, and we'll have a lot more programming on there. But I want you to understand that you are entitled to be a happy being. Tribes and tribulations and hell in order for you to get to what they call heaven. You are an eternal flame in this universe that is meant to burn bright for all to see. For you should be proud upon what has been built inside of you. Your eternal sun, the soul of your light being. Great Grand Rising to us all. And may the universe be with you forever.
Predicting your behavior with an absolute accuracy has been Google's quest for 2 decades. If they can do that, they can generate endless streams of money from advertisers and anyone else who is willing to pay for exploiting such power. How much are they